Hi everybody, Giselle Grenier here from artplace.ca. In today's video lesson, we're going to create some spirit stones, and one particular spirit stone, and I just want to show you what I've done so far because the prep work does take a little bit of time, so it's best if you do it all at once. So I picked up these stones. I got them in a bag from Home Depot, and they're relatively nice stones, all different shapes, so you're gonna have to pick and choose what you want and then adjust the design. They're fairly clean, but what you want to do with these is you want to wash them in warm soapy water and use a scrubby brush and really, scrub it well and rinse it and then let it air dry. Then once that's done, you're going to take some rubbing alcohol and a paper towel, and you're going to wipe the stone again. Do it in a well-ventilated area, and always read the label on the product. And then you're going to let it air dry. That'll dry really, really fast. Okay, so you've got that done. Then what you're going to do now, depending on the type of stone that you have, because not everybody has, the same building stores around. If you find stones outside or whatever, it doesn't matter. Give it a coat of gesso, and I've used the DecoArt acrylic gesso, and just apply a coat. And you don't have to do anything fancy. Just take a little bit of gesso, and this one here only has one coat, and you're just going to apply. It's just going to help the paint stick, especially if you're using something that's polished. So you're just going to give it a coat of gesso. You're going to let that dry. You're going to flip it over, do the other side, let that dry. Then you're going to do the edges here. And what you want to do is avoid any ridges of paint, meaning you don't want that. Make sure it's all smoothed out. And this is why I say the prep work will, ensure that your stone, the paint won't peel or crack or whatever. So just make sure that you do all your prep work at once. So with that done, move you over here. And then this particular one here, I've already started with one coat. And what I did with this one, I'm going to do another coat on it just to show you. And I'm using the Americana Décor Chalky finish paint, and this is lace, and I keep getting in reverse, New Life and Reminisce. So with this is just taking a little bit and just again the same way, applying a coat. And what I've done with this particular stone is I've already applied 2 coats on it, and this stuff dries super fast. Now if you don't like the chalky finish of like a matte paint, your very final step will be the finish stage, which will be applying your varnish. You can apply a varnish in ultra matte, a satin, a semi-gloss, high gloss, whatever finish you want. So the paint per se, the finish of the paint doesn't really matter, because you have to varnish it at the end anyways. What I like about especially using these chalky finish paints for painting on rocks is that you can use a heat gun on them and they dry super fast. And now it's ready to paint. So what I thought I would do for this particular lesson is I'm going to use a stencil, and this is Funky Flowers, and it's a adhesive stencil from DecoArt, from the Patio paint line. And I'm liking this one here. I've already created a stone already, so I wanted to make sure that everything stuck the way it was supposed to. So I thought that would be kind of cute to put on there. Nice little stone, this little flower called Flower Power. And I'm going to use you don't need a lot of paint because it's pretty strong. And I'm going to use a little 1/4 inch stencil brush from Royal. So nothing changes with the stenciling. So pounce, pounce, pounce. Just off on a paper towel just to remove the excess. And come in and start. Now even with this, because the stones are so uneven, and I've used a stencil quite a bit quite a bit. You want to make sure you don't have too much paint on your brush, otherwise it'll seep under. Even if that happens, regardless, I am going to touch up with using a small brush, touch up the edges. Just pounce, pounce, pounce. And you can choose how many layers you want. Like I put, this is a pretty strong one right here, which is a little bit too much paint, but you can see the difference. Stenciling is something I don't have a lot of patience for, and that usually results in me having to redo it. Oh, you know what I should have done with that one? I should have made that one green. Yeah, let me do that. Let me make that center green. I'm going to load it right into pink. A little bit more. I need that anyways. That'll help tie the next step in there. And when you're adding green and red, some type of red together, it'll always neutralize the red. The green usually wins. That's why I didn't mind doing it on a dirty brush. What this is going to do is darken the center. I don't want to get it too close. We'll see what happens. Haha. And I got a little bit of paint. I'm going to put this in water. And I got a little bit of paint here, so I can take a small little shader brush and I can just go back over. Like I said, dries super fast. And if you apply the paint with feathered edges, so you're going to apply the paint and then you're going to smooth the edges out by just a light flick, it'll be seamless. Because the red is so strong, it's going to take a few layers just to cover up that boo-boo. All right, so I'll let that dry. And then I can come here and say, okay, let me think for a second. It's actually not too bad. I'm just going to use a little liner brush or a round brush. This is the Aqualon brushes. I like these brushes because I can leave them in water for a few minutes before cleaning them. Then I can come in here and apply a little bit more paint in the middle, giving strengthen the edges. The edge, it's pretty good. I'm surprised. I got a little bit of the green here, so I'll apply here. My challenge right now is I want to take my glasses off and get real close to this because I always have trouble with close-up work. There we go. There. And I'll do another little layer here. I'm not too worried about this here. I forgot to blot my brush. Not too worried about this here because I'm going to be putting little dots, little sparkles. Not glossy sparkles, but little sparkles on the stone. Okay, before I do anything else, now I have to let this dry. All right, so it's dried now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you can use a brush if you want. Actually, let me just quickly, this is a tiny little 20-0 brush, and I'm just going to pounce up and down in the middle of this swirl, just to put a little bit of green in the middle and leave the dark on the outside. There we go. I'm going to take the stylus, and there's a really small point on it. I'm going to go into the green, and I'm just going to dot like this. Now you can also do this with metallics, which is actually really pretty. And I'm going to do that at the very end, because if you do this stage here, then do the metallic dots as well, and then you varnish it. The varnish, depending on the finish, because I'm using an ultra matte varnish for this, the varnish will actually get rid of the shine, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to varnish at the end on top. I'm going to apply the metallic dots after I varnish, and I'm going to be using an actual outdoor paint for that. So I won't have to revarnish again. I always have to assume that the stones are going to be used outside. If you're giving these as a gift, you don't want the paint to peel or anything, so just kind of think of what people would be using them for. Okay, and let me take some of this pink and I'll just random, not too many, because I don't want it to compete with the metallic. All right, so I'm going to let this dry and then I'll get my varnish ready. All right, so it's all dried out. I put a second coat of paint on the leaves, and I'm going to take this is polyurethane varnish from DecoArt. It's the ultra matte. You can choose any finish you want. And the varnishing is a very important step. So what I'm using is a big brush, big flat brush. And just applying a layer of varnish. And what I'll do with this is I'll let this apply a layer, then I'll let it dry, flip it over, do the other side, let it dry, and apply a couple more coats. And then to finish this off, I'll apply the metallic paint, which is the outdoor living line from DecoArt in rose gold. I'm going to repeat the same step before, and I'm just going to add some of these dots, metallic, and it's up to you how many you want to add. If these stones are outside, like say in a garden, they will, when the sun hits this paint, it gives off the most subtle little sparkle. It's really, really pretty. So I've put a total of 3 coats of varnish on the stone because I'm always assuming it's going to be in the, in a very humid place. And if it's not, then no worries. It's up to you how many you want to put on there. And I'm going to put 3, then 1 little dot. And then let that dry. When we come back, I'll show you what it looks like. So it's all finished. You can see the nice little glimmers there. Now I did another stone. Same technique, except for this one here, the blue. I used Treasure lightened up with lace for the blue. And then for the lighter dots here, I took Vintage with a speck of Treasure. Dotted those in and then used rose gold for everything else. And this one here, I left it as blue. So a stone for a boy and a stone for a girl, but very different shapes, but you can see by just, it's very similar in design, but they do look different. And varnished on both sides. Now this one here, when I varnished it, what I did is I put it outside to dry. And what I forgot about was, well, Earth rotates, sun kind of changes position, and the tray that I had it on got really hot and it stuck. So rule for next time, don't leave it outside to dry, especially if it's going to be in the sun. Next time I'll put it underneath my sun shelter. All right, so there you go. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and give it a try. And if you don't have the stencils, just do it freehand, find some really interesting shapes. But I hope that you enjoyed this spirit stone video, and join me for a bunch of other spirit stone videos I'm going to be doing. Very simple little projects that can be done in under 15 minutes. The unfortunate thing is the drying time is the buzzkill. All right. So until I see you in those videos, stay inspired.